Hello and welcome to my studio. In this video I'm going to show you how I made this picture. For a simple subject to work well as a picture, careful staging and setup can really help. This image also uses a compositing technique to remove the support, giving the illusion of a free-floating subject. And in this video I'm going to show you exactly how I did it. Okay, so to start with the subject then. What I've got here is a box of seashells. Now I got these online, but you can literally pick them up off the beach. And basically what I'm going to do is just arrange them so that I end up with two shells which are slightly open like that. Now in order to make that, what I'm going to do is just arrange them on the table here, and I'm just going to balance them together. There we are. And once I've got them like that, what I'm going to do is just use a hot melt glue gun, like this one. I'm just going to run some glue along the spine, but also I'm going to incorporate a small support, just made out of a bent piece of steel wire. So basically, this is going on here, and then I just run some glue along the bottom. So there we are, this is one that I made earlier, and you can see that that is now well and truly glued on, and all the parts are quite rigid. So next thing to do would be to mount this so that I can use it for the subject. And I'm going to mount it in a lab stand. So here I have a lab stand with a couple of clamps on it. I'm just going to place this at the back here. Something like that. Okay, so our subject is nearly complete, it's just missing one item. And that item is actually a ball bearing. So again, I got these online, and they come in all sorts of sizes. And here's one that I've just taken out of the packet. I'm just going to pop that in the shell. There we go. So there we are. That's going to form our subject. Now the next thing to do is to think about how it's lit. Now this can be done very simply, just with a speedlight flash gun. And I'm going to use a very small studio head with a pack, just to light this from below. So what I'm going to do is just to put this on the bottom of the stand here. There we are, something like that. And the idea being that I want to try and get this directly in line with the subject at this point, and also in this direction too. So I think that's not bad. We might need to adjust it. We'll see how we go. Okay, so for the subject then, and the illumination for that subject, that's it. So the next thing to consider would be the camera position. So I want to position the camera in front, over here somewhere, and I'm going to use a tripod to do that. Here we are. Now the reason I'm using a tripod is one of the techniques I'm going to use is a composite, just to get rid of this support and give the illusion that this is floating. And in order to do that, I need to take two pictures from precisely the same position. So a tripod is really essential. Right, so that brings me on to the camera. I'm using a medium format camera, and this has a 120mm macro lens on the front of it. Now that's roughly the equivalent field of view as you would get from a 70mm lens on a full frame format camera. Okay. This is also tethered into Capture One software, so it's easy to follow along and see the results as I get them. So I'm just going to place this on the top of the tripod. There we go. And the next thing to do would just be to turn the camera on and set the shot up. There we are, that's all on now. And you can now see the settings that I've got on the camera on the software here. So at the moment it's in full manual mode. I've got a shutter speed of 125th of a second. Now that's the flash sync speed for the focal plane shutter in this camera. ISO 100, and again at the moment I've got an aperture of f8. That's about half range on this particular lens. Okay, so just with those settings, the next thing I'm going to do before I turn the flash on would be just to grab an image and see if I get any contamination from the house lights. So as an initial test, you can see that there's very little contamination in that image. So at those settings, we should be reasonably safe. So the next thing to do is just to set up the shot. So what I'm going to do is just have a look through the viewfinder. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is just go for a rough focus, something like that. And the next thing, I think I just want to change the viewpoint a little. So I'll point that down and I'll just wind this up on the center column to about there. Let's point that at the subject. There we are. Okay. So with all that done, the next thing to do would be to just go for an exposure. What I'll do is just use TTL metering in the camera just to get me in the ballpark. Okay. There we go. That's not too bad as an initial exposure, but I'd like a little bit more control, so I'll just use manual control from now on. So I'll just take this out of TTL and put it back into manual control, so I get full control over the energy that I'm using in the flashes. Okay, so looking at that, I think it's possibly a little over, and also I'm getting a little bit of flare, and the spread generally from this light is very large, and I want to limit that. So what I'm going to do is just put a snoot on this flash. So here I've got a very simple cardboard snoot. I'm just going to place this on the flash, like so. So with that in place, I'll just grab that again. There we are, that's much better. So this is what I had before, and this is what I've got now with the snoot in place. Okay, but I think generally looking at the image there, I'd like a bit more depth of field. So in order to do that, I'm going to change the aperture from f8, and I'll take it up to, what, f16 to start with? Now that's a two-stop change, so I need to add 2 stops of energy to the light to make up for that. So we'll grab that again and see what happens this time. Yes, well I think that's starting to get there. This is what we had before, and this is what we've got now. You can see we're starting to get a bit more edge detail along the front of the shell here. But it's still not quite there yet. So I'd like a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is, again, increase the aperture from 16 all the way up to 32. So that's another 2 stops, and we'll grab that again. Yes, so that's really starting to come along now. So this is what we had initially, and this is what I have at f32. So far, so good. Okay, so now it's time to have a look at the background. In the original image, we had a blue graduation in the background. So in order to achieve that, I'm going to use this piece of mount board. This is grey mount board, and I'm just going to place this on a C-stand at the back here. There we are. And now if I use another flash head, this is one that I've got in another lab stand, just for convenience really, and on the front of this I have this zoom reflector, just to concentrate the light a little. Place that down here somewhere, like that. So just at an arbitrary energy level, what I'll do is grab an image and just see what we get. And okay, we're starting to get a bit of a glow around there, but 1, it's not really in the right place, and 2, there's just not enough of it. So what I'm going to do, just to aid me setting this up, is I'm going to use the modelling light which is incorporated in that head. So I can just turn that on, like so. And so I can see what I'm doing. I'll just start up live view. There we are. Just turn the monitor round, and now I can manipulate the head whilst watching the monitor just to get the light in the right place. So about there should do it, I think. Right. So with that set, I can get rid of live view, and I'll just increase the energy just by, what, 1 stop, just to see what happens. There we are. With that set, we'll grab that again. Yes, that's starting to work. The glow's about the right sort of size and shape. Okay, but it's not blue. So to make it blue, I'm just going to use a filter, and I'm just going to place that over the head. There we are. And we'll just grab that again. Yes, that's coming along. The blue filter has taken out quite a lot of the energy. So I'm just going to add another stop. And we'll just grab that again. Yes, I think that's a better exposure. Okay, so the foreground part of this image is now complete. But what I need to do now is just grab what's known as a blank slate, which would be a picture without the subject in it, just of the background. So what I'm going to do is very carefully move all this so that it's not in the way anymore, and I'll grab another image. There we are. So now I should be able to get just the background in the image. There. So that's the sort of thing that I wanted. So for capturing all the elements to put this picture together, that's it. So the next thing to do would be to take these last 2 images into Photoshop and just combine them together. Okay, so here we are in Photoshop, and I've loaded up the files of the 2 images that I captured earlier. So this is the shell with the ball bearing and the support, which you can clearly see in the background here. And this is just the background. So the first thing to do is just to combine these 2 images into one new file. And the way I'm going to do that is just go to File, come down to Scripts, and just go over to Load Files into Stack. And I'll just ask it to add the open files. I don't need to do anything else, just click on OK. There we are, and now I've got a new file at the top here, which is a combination of these 2. They're now on separate layers over here. So I can turn off and on the main image there. There we are. So I no longer need the 2 camera originals, so I can just close those down. I've always got those to go back to, should I need them. Okay, so the thing to do now is just to get rid of this support. And this is quite simple. Once you've got the 2 images in place like this, all you need to do is just add a layer mask to the top layer here. And you can see that that is just a plain white layer mask. So wherever I paint in black on that layer mask will reveal the underlying layer, which in this case is the pure background. So I'll just pick a paintbrush. Yeah, that looks about right. And I'll literally just paint that out. Like so. And when I get close to the actual subject, I can just zoom in. And holding down the space bar to navigate, I can just move along to the image. And now I can make the paintbrush considerably smaller and possibly a little harder. And just get very close to the edge like so. There we are, and with that done I can zoom back out again. So finally I'll just add a crop to the image. Now I'm using this for video, so I'm using a specific ratio of 16:9. There we are, so with that I'll just commit to that. And there we have it, the finished image. So with some careful staging, even the most mundane subjects can form quite a nice picture. And together with a little forethought in grabbing a blank slate at the time of shooting, it's possible to very easily remove any support. I think overall that's turned out rather well. Okay, well I hope you liked watching how I made that image, and if you like watching these sort of things, do click on the other pictures as they appear, and don't forget to subscribe. Oh, and hit the like button. Thank you very much for watching.